Have you ever wondered what the banks do with our money after we make a deposit? Do you think they lock it away until we need it, or do you think they do something else with it? They definitely do something else with it, and they make a lot of money from it. I'm going to explain that while I make pizza. Tomorrow's going to be a very busy day with the family, so I want to prep our meal or our lunch together, and we're going to have pizza. I'm making two 12-inch pizzas, and then I'm going to make a classic Italian pizza, salami and pepperoni. So let's get going. So what do the banks do with our money? They actually invest our money, meaning that they involve themselves with financial transactions where they yield or hope to yield a profit, and they make a lot of profit. You know, when you look at the big cities in America, when you look at the skylines, typically at least a few of those big fancy buildings belong to banks, so they make a lot of money. Now, the difference between a bank and a credit union is credit unions are non-profit and banks are profit. So they're in the business of making a lot of money, and they do make a lot of money off of our own money. And how do they do it? They do it by investments. Well, if the bank can make so much money off of our money by investing in it, why can't we do the same? I think that's something that we need to keep in mind is if we want to be frugal parents or if we want to have frugal households, we need to be financially literate so we can have our money work for ourselves, where we can have our money multiply itself. Now, there's a lot of different options out there for investments. There's real estate investments, stock investments, bonds, foreign currency, and things like that. I like stocks a lot. I've been interested in stocks for several decades, and that's something I like to participate in, and my wife and I, we do some real estate as well. Well, believe it or not, stocks can be quite easy, quite simple, and there are some pretty good deals out there. There are some pretty good strategies out there that have yielded people a lot of money. Now, before I go on, I just want to say this salami is really good. This is the best salami I've ever found for making a pizza, and I actually got this at Walmart. It's called Margarita, and I found it in the deli section, just in the little shelf underneath, you know, right in front of their meat case or deli meat case, and it's been phenomenal. A lot of salamis I've used in the past, they've been too big. When you take a bite out of it, you pull the entire salami off or whatever, or they're not that good. But this is phenomenal salami. It's really, my family loves this salami. And it's good off the pizza as well. Meanwhile, let me talk to you just about the stock market just real quickly. There are some very simple strategies out there. One of them is called ETF, which is Exchange Traded Fund. And what it does is it tries to emulate various indexes out there. There's a lot of indexes out there in the stock market. An index is just a group of companies that people like to track to kind of gauge how the financial markets are doing. One of the most famous index out there is called the S&P 500, which is basically the 500 largest companies in America, or some of the largest companies in America, where people try to follow those stocks. And the nice thing about an ETF is you don't have to buy shares of all 500. You can just participate in a pool of money where when you invest money in that, is based off the returns of those 500 companies or that index. And the index that I'm thinking of is called SPY, S-P-Y. It's a very popular index, ETF, and it's been around since 1993. Well, SPY has done quite well. A friend of mine, or actually a relative, got me involved with it in the mid 1990s, and it's done quite well for me or for the family. And I think right around 1993, when they first came out, one share of SPY, which is one small portion of those 500 companies, cost around $40 or $45. Now it's trading at like $440. So if I would have kept all the money, if I would have invested in 1994 and kept my money in it, I would have multiplied my money 10 times, just to show you how good it is. One of the popular strategies about investing in the stock market is to invest for the long term. I walked into the office of one of my finance professors in college, and he was telling me that his wife just gave birth to a child, and that he was investing $2,000 in that child's account. And the way that he worked the numbers, this was actually in the bond market, that by the time his child was 18 years old, his college was going to be paid for. So that's a beautiful thing about investments, is you can put a little money down now and yield, and if it does well for you, you can have a lot of money in the future to buy big things, whether it's college education, houses, or retirement, or whatever. Now let me wash my hands off and I'll show you some details on that. So I'm just going to go to Google and type SPY ETF Historical Performance, and if you go into Yahoo Finance, you'll see that today SPY traded at $428 and it went up $6 today. Now look at the historical performance. In the last year, 2021, it yielded 28.59%. That's huge. I mean, if you receive interest from your bank, if you're lucky to receive interest from your bank, you're only going to get like 0.5% or 1% or so forth. The year before, 2020, 18.25%. 31% in 2019. Now obviously it goes up and down. You can lose money. That is the risk of being in the stock market. There was a 4% loss in 2018. 36%. There was a stock market crash in 2008 and so forth. But like I mentioned before, if you're in for the long term, you can just ride these ups and downs, and oftentimes you'll make a lot more money in the financial markets than you would in the bank and so forth. Now obviously I'm not a certified financial planner, I'm not a professional at this. It's just something I've learned on my own, and something I bring it to the family, and that we utilize our money, we invest our money into financial instruments like this. And so this is just for educational and entertainment purposes, and obviously what was done in the past doesn't necessarily reflect what can happen in the future, but it just shows you an idea of people who have invested in this SPY instrument have done quite well in the past. And let me show you, if I can, a spreadsheet that I developed. This is what I was talking about before. In 1994, one share of SPY was $46.59, and like I said, now it's trading at $438, which is almost 1,000% return. But in 1994, if you would put your money in, you would have lost 2% the first year. But look, if you had kept it in for 3 years, you would earn 19.5% annual interest for 3 years. Or if you had kept it in for 5 years, 33.38, and then 10 years, you would earn 13% annually and so forth. So here's kind of a breakdown of every single year. It's certainly food for thought, and this is just one of the many investment opportunities out there that we can utilize to try to make a little bit of money for ourselves, as opposed to having the bank take all of our money and use it as free money for their investments also. Now, what is my policy for our household is I try to only keep just emergency amount of money in the bank, and I try to utilize the rest for investments, whether it's real estate, stocks, and so forth. So that's just something that I've come up with, and I try to follow along, and it's definitely food for thought for you. But again, like I said, if we want to be frugal, if we want to be financially wise in our households, we need to be financially literate, and one of the big aspects of that is to understand investments, finances, and things like that. And there's a lot of material out there that we can read to learn about investments. So hopefully that helped. In the meantime, I'm going to put a little more cheese on the pizza and then put it in the refrigerator and keep it until the morning, and I'll go ahead and cook it for the family for lunchtime. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed that video. Hopefully I'll see you again soon. Take care and God bless.